Hi guys, Faxi Nadu here. I want to show you and talk about the APC 40 from Akai. And the APC 40 is a performance controller, and it is especially made for Ableton Live. You could use it with other programs as well, but it kind of defeats the purpose, because if you look at the machine itself, everything actually it's like exactly the same look as Ableton, and it is specifically configured for this program. But again, it is a controller. It is sending MIDI messages like every other controller, and you can use it to control anything else as well. So what this thing actually gives you is the ability to perform live with Ableton. It really opens up the program for usage in a live context. And if you look at other genres other than trance music, it has been around for quite a long time. I think it was first released in 2009, so it's been around for like 5 years. And if you go into other electronic genres like dubstep and even techno and stuff like that, then it's been used massively. And but in trance music, I don't think I've ever seen anyone that uses this. And I think it's a shame. Once I understood what it can do for me, it really opened up my mind and got me going in a crazy new path. So let's talk a little bit about this machine itself, and I'm going to talk as if you already are familiar with Ableton, because this is really for Ableton users, like we said. So first of all, the good about this machine, I've written it down a little bit, the pros and cons. The way I see it, this machine has two sides. If you put your hand right here, there's the left side and the right side. And to me, the left side is a total win. It's really brilliant and awesome. And then the right side is so-so, maybe a little bit fail even, and I'll tell you why. So the left side, if you look at it, what you have here is clip launchers that you can use to launch various clips in Ableton. Launch and stop clips. And of course this is something that you can do with the mouse as well, but the mouse can only be in one spot at one time, right? If you look at the controller, then I'm no longer obligated to one channel to do one thing at a time. I can actually insert multiple channels at once, stop and start multiple channels at once, and do all sorts of crazy things. And this comes into play when you're making live music. Obviously really lets you do a lot of good things, get things into the mix and out of the mix, and really combine all sorts of stuff that you're doing. The faders also give you lots of control. 8 faders plus a fader for the master channel. And again, one of the great things about this device itself is the build quality is absolutely superb. The faders feel great. You know, the push buttons also really responsive and really good feel, and the knobs also of superb high quality, really good build. Now this has a lot of features. As you can see, you have both this whole launching mechanism, you have faders, really high quality, you have high quality knobs, and you even have a crossfader, and you have all these buttons that you can also map for yourself. So you have a lot of features really jam-packed on this thing. And I want to mention a little bit more on the crossfader. It really does feel great. I'm not actually like a DJ per se, but it feels really good. And usually people would buy a separate controller to DJ with, but even if sometimes you DJ and sometimes you play live, I think this device kind of answers both of these calls really well. And this crossfader is absolutely essential in order to be also a DJ with this device. Now let's look at the things that are a little bit weird and iffy about this device. The first, like I said, this section, to me it's really great. But also, if you look at the grid size, you have 8 horizontal channels on the grid and 5 vertical spots. So what this basically means is, if you look at Ableton, then it will actually show you what is on the grid itself on the APC, and you have the first 8 channels and the first 5 clips on each channel. Now to me this is a little bit a shame, because if you look at something like the Novation Launchpad, then it has a lot of more vertical. Actually, 3 more slots. I say a lot. It's only 3 more, but just this 3 more makes a huge difference in my opinion. For example, if you look at the first channel, we have the kick and bass on the first channel. Now let's just run down for this example. Okay, so right here we have the normal kick and bass line. We have it with a closed hat, with an open hat, and everything together, also with the snare drum. And here we have a kick fill, right? So let's say I'm performing right now, and let's just turn on a few channels. So I'm performing, and now I want to do a kick fill. So I will do, right? So that's pretty cool. I have myself a kick fill. But what if I want, I don't want to use this same stupid and annoying fill like the whole track, right? Maybe I want to use this one, or like a million other ones like it. So having just 5 right here is really limiting. If it was a Launchpad, just 3 more spots would give me 3 more fills, and it would totally change like what I can do with the track. So I think this one thing is really limiting, and Akai is about set to release APC Mark II, and it's again the same vertical design with 5 clips, and I'm kind of wondering what they were thinking, especially when their competition has more vertical clips, but that's the product. So another thing is the 8 horizontal channels, as you see here. Of course you can move them around. If I press, see, I can move the grid. But it's kind of awkward if you think about it. Like if I move it by 1, then channel 2 actually becomes 1 over here, and now channel 3 is the 1, and then that's all nice and everything. But then what is this one? Like if you go to the very beginning, then you know that this is 5. But if you move 2 slots, wait a minute, this is 8. This is, what is it? Okay, it's 7. So it's a little bit awkward, and for me in a live situation, it's almost unusable this way, because it's gonna get so hectic to remember everything. So another thing you can do, you can press Shift, and then it'll move by 8, and this is just a little bit more logical, because you know that, and then this is 9, and then this is 16, and everything in between. But again, I don't know. I think what I do and what most people end up doing is using not scrolling in a live situation with the Shift, but just using the first 8 most important ones that you trigger the most on the first 8 channels, and then that's it. But then that's a shame, because okay, the kick and bass and drums, I have used all my 5 vertical ones, but if you look here, channel 9 has some stuff going on, and in channel 13 and channel 16, and I could really use pads for these as well, and I don't have it because I'm kind of decided to use only the first 8 in a live context. So this is something that is a little bit awkward and a little bit to think about. What some people end up doing is actually, instead of buying an APC 40, they would buy 2 APC 20s and have just this side twice, and then instead of scrolling, they'd have 8 for the first 8 channels, 8 for the other channels, or along the same lines, 2 Novation Launchpads. But then one thing the Launchpad does not give you is all these great knobs, and really good feeling and good sounding knobs. Which brings me to, well, it's one positive is the quality and the availability of the knobs, but it also brings me to a negative, which is the whole knob implementation. If you look right here, you can obviously override, and we'll talk about the mapping in a second, but the way they hardwired it and the way they kind of labeled everything is really silly. I mean, they give you a dedicated pan knob for 8 channels, for the 8 chosen channels. Like, who the heck is gonna modulate the panning live? Like, why would you need a dedicated knob for that? I don't think, like, did you ever do that? Like, do you modulate your panning live? Like, what for? And if you want it so much for one channel, then you could just link a controller to one channel. You do not need, no one is doing that, okay? No one's modulating the kicks pan and the bass lines pan in a live situation. And then they also hardwired the rest. So you have, you can move to the sends. But what if you don't have sends? This project does not use even one send. So this is pretty much this whole pre-mapping they made, and they took a lot of kind of, they thought through it, I guess, and they made this whole implementation just so you could have these options, and it's totally useless for so many people that are using this device. So it's kind of strange. Same thing with the lower section of knobs, and these map to whatever device you're on. So let's say I choose this channel, and see this little hand? This means, well, I'll go to another one that has like more. If I choose this one, look here, then you can see that the lights will turn on based on the knobs of the chosen device. But then again, there is no labeling. You know, you don't know what it's mapped to. Like, let's say it'll be the first 8 parameters, but you're not gonna go here and start counting. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Oh, okay. Let's say you wanna move the feedback out of all these. You have no idea which one is the feedback until you actually try and move it. I think it's really awkward. What I would prefer is if they just gave me, you know, like 60 knobs with pages, with banks, and forget about all the rest. Forget about, you know, calling it pan, send. Just put 60 knobs on this thing and banks. That's it, and I think everyone would be much happier. It would be much easier that way. But that's how they chose how to do it. What you can do, and what we have done, and what I guess most people do, is override the default mapping and map things for yourselves. So all you got to do, as with any controller in Ableton, choose a knob. I mean, go to MIDI, choose a knob, move a knob, and it'll override the preset mapping and map that knob. So that's pretty cool. But again, just the layout is kind of annoying, but it will let you do all that. I still think that this section is good as well, but the criticism that I have doesn't make it like a bad product, but it's just kind of silly. I would map it totally differently. So that's the machine. It's really good for I think everyone that is that wants to do live music or is doing live music, and really recommend it for the build, for the unique way that it latches on to Ableton, for the knobs, and for the size and just the look. Everything is really nice about this machine. It's a great buy, but you have to keep in mind the cons, and you also have to think if it's really something that is suitable for you. If you're working on Cubase or FL Studio or Logic, then buy another controller. If you are working with Ableton, this is a great choice, but you might also want to look at the APC 20, which gives you basically this side of the APC without the knobs. Maybe to buy 2 APC 20s is a better choice. Maybe for some people to buy an APC 40 is a better choice. So look into that. But yeah, if you use Ableton, look into that. We'll look into the MPK 25 in the next video, and I think these two go well together and give you really supplement each other really well. So have a good one. See you in the next videos.